welcome to Nook Spellensolder. This time I'm joined by Paul from Gwynedd Games.
Hello!
Welcome. And we're going to have a look at the game Counterfeiters, published by Gwynedd Games. It's a game for 2 to 4 players and it takes about 30 to 45 minutes to play. And Paul, can you tell us what the game idea is about? What are we going to do?
In Counterfeiters we are, counterfeiters, where we try to produce fake money, and we want to find certain ways in the game to exchange this for real money. And if you have the most money at the end of the game, you're the winner.
You're the winner. Sounds great. Let's have a look at what's inside the box. The game is designed by Olivier Bourgeois and the artwork is from INO2, and we're getting
the rules in 4 languages: English, Dutch, German and French. The rules are fairly short and easy to understand with a lot of examples.
We get the playing board. The playing board is double-sided. We've got a 2-player side and a 3 to 4 player side with the track which depicts certain actions happening at certain moments during the game and the different actions from which we can choose every round. Further we get
a set of cards, special envelopes per player to put your Caribbean money in. You got a batch of fake money in 3 different denominations, and a bag of real money in 2 different denominations. Then you get all the player materials. These are the meeples in each player color.
And they're all very nice looking. Look at the detail of them. They're massive wooden pieces and they depict your player character. And we have the bear cup and the starting player marker.
And then you have the player screens for all the different players, which each have their own animal.
Great. Okay, let's set up the game. And this is how the game is set up for 4 players. Every player chooses a counterfeiter, gets the screen, the offshore bank account envelope, 3 henchmen. You start with 1 printing press and 1 starting card, which gives you one of the 3 qualities to print your counterfeit money. You randomly choose one of the starting players who will receive these cool glasses, sunglasses, and then that player will receive $20 to start with, 30, 40 and 50 for the last player.
We've placed the game board at the center of the table with the appropriate side for a 4-player game. You place the police bear meeple on the 4-player spot. If you play with 3 players, you put them here. If you play with 2 players, you use the other side of the board. Then you prepare the black market. You have to prepare the deck to show it's built up from A to B to C to D. So the cards are well balanced in those decks. If you play with fewer players, you take out the cards labeled for 4 players, like this one. You can see the little crocodile symbol down there that depicts you don't play with this card when you play a 3 or 2 player game. You place the real money on one side of the board, and then you place the fake money in its 3 different qualities on a different side of the board.
Okay.
Now you're ready to
start playing.
Yes.
The game is played over the duration of several rounds, and the game ends as soon as the police bear ends up at the final spot of this track. Then every player gets to place one of their henchmen as a final action, and then again tally up the score, and the player with the most money will be victorious. How does a round work? Starting with the starting player, every player chooses one of their henchmen to send off to one of the available actions on the main board. There are several kinds of actions. For instance, you see the black market. If you send your worker to one of those spots, you pay the amount of money depicted there and take the card above it. Here we can print our own fake money. Here we can do a honest day work and get some real money. These actions are used to fly your money from this city to the Bahamas to safeguard them from the Godfather, a tiger-like creature who's out for our money. And here we have 2 actions in which we can put our fake money to work and translate it into real money. Important to know, every space can contain only one henchman, so if you put your henchman somewhere, you block the action effectively for somebody else, and you will see several icons depicted in various actions. If there's a police officer, he will move one step on the track. This will give you the first player token, and these actions are only available if you have a plane ticket. And if there's a bank note depicted, you will have to pay that amount to perform the action. But let's have a closer look at all the actions in detail.
The first action we'll explain is the printing press. If you place a meeple here, and again you can choose which spot you go to, so you don't have to go to the policeman immediately, but if you want to, you're free to do so. Let's not do that this time, and let's place the guy over there. That means I get 2 fake bills times the amount of printers I have. Well, at the start of the game I only have this, so I have a printer and 1 component, in this case ink. That means I get 2 bills of quality 1. In the game you can buy more components of a different kind, for instance this paper, and that will give me an additional star. That means if I produce now, I get 2 money of quality 2. These components are valid for all your printers. So if you have 3 printers and these 2 components, that means that all your printers can print quality 2 money. If you choose this action, you do an honest day work, you get 30 bucks. On the left side of the board you can see the 2 actions that let you exchange fake money for real money. This action is called flogging with a receiver, which lets you exchange up to 8 banknotes to real money. You can see the different denominations at the bottom, and then you would exchange a certain amount of bills, which are shown right here. In this case we would exchange 2, 4, 7 banknotes of each of a different kind. If we use different kinds of banknotes, we always look at the least valuable quality of the money, and that's the exchange rate we get for all of the bank accounts. In this case, these 7 bills would give us $140. In this case, these bills would get us 30 each, and in this case, these bills would get us 40 each. Then we can also flog at a supermarket, which doesn't care what the quality of the money is. In this case we get $50 for each of these value 1 bills. With the supermarket comes a restriction though, because police research will continue to move forward. As soon as the policeman gets to this space, that means no more value 1 bank accounts are accepted at the supermarket, since they've installed a scanner. Later in the game the level 2 notes won't be available, and in the end you can't even exchange level 3 notes at the supermarket. As soon as the policeman gets to the Godfather symbol, every player has to hand half of his riches to the Godfather. The Godfather only accepts real money, and it's rounded up. So for instance, if I had $70, I would have to pay 40 to the Godfather. To prevent this money from going away, I can choose the flight to the Caribbean or the Bahamas action, and I can put any amount of money into my offshore bank account envelope. I only put real money in there, and that's safe until the end of the game. To use this action, you place your meeple on one of the 3 spots. For these you need to pay $30, and for these you'll have to have a ticket, which you can buy later in the black market.
As soon as all the meeples have been placed, the round comes to an end. And at the end of the round there are a couple of things we can do. First of all, we retrieve all our meeples, and secondly, if you have bought one of the diners, you get to exchange one of your counterfeit money bills for a real bill of $50, which happens only at the end of each round, so after everyone has had an opportunity to place all of their henchmen on the board. And after that we will refresh the black market. You will see that the first 2 spaces have a bin depicted on that. That means that if these cards were not bought, they will be automatically removed. Cards which have already been bought will provide empty spaces. Everything will be shifted to the far right, and then you'll draw cards to fill up the market so that there will be a card on top of every of the available actions. Again, this action is only available in a 4-player game, or unless there are no more cards in this deck, then the market will not be fully filled. And then we start the next round, looking at the starting player to place a henchman first, and continue clockwise, placing one henchman at a time, etc., until this police officer reaches the end of this line. Then every player, including the player causing the police officer to end the game, will get to place one more henchman if available, and then we're going to tally up the score. We're going to count all the money in our offshore bank account envelope and all the money behind our screen, and the player with the most money will be the winner of Counterfeiters. Thank you very much for watching, and have a great time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Not Spellenzolder.